All right, we're live. Brewers just got a 9-7 win in 10 innings tonight. Um, that was wild, and I figured since it was such a wild game, let's be wild and do a little late night Brewers conversation. It's 11:05 Central Time. Brewers just got a wild victory at Coors Field. That was the most Coors Field last two innings. That was just typical Coors Field. Like through the first 8 innings, it's like, okay, I thought hitting was supposed to be easy here. And then hitting was not very easy there. One hit through the first 8 innings for the Brewers, and then they come back and they score 8 runs while making 4 outs over the next 2 innings. And then they ended up getting a couple of more outs. And then they go to the bottom of the 10th, and it was not easy. The Rockies loaded the bases with nobody out, but Ashby was able to get out of it. So want to hear from you in the comments on YouTube, Facebook, firing it up here on this Friday night. And I mean, really, the first 8 innings of this game was unremarkable. Brandon Sproat went 5 innings, which was good. Unfortunately, Brian Fitzpatrick looked like he left the game with an injury, and it didn't look good. We'll just say that. Craig Yoho completes 2 innings for the first time in his major league career. He doesn't allow a run and looked good during it. Andy said, wow, nervous, wow, OMG. That sums it up, Andy. I think it's a great way to put it. That is the perfect way to put it. I don't even know how to really put it any other way other than that was just a game where you just felt so many emotions. During the first 8 innings, it was like, okay, how can you only get one hit at Coors Field through 8 innings? And then it was like, oh, just you wait till the 9th inning. And Andy commenting Bowers as well. Bowers is the 2026 version of Jake Bowers is incredible. We saw this partly towards the end of the season last year, but this has just been another level. You look at what these guys are doing with runners in scoring position, and they flash those numbers up. Him, Garrett Mitchell, another guy who over 300 with runners in scoring position. And that is just, clutch personified. And it's interesting because we talked to Garrett Mitchell, who had one of the big hits in the 10th inning. Obviously a tough at bat in the 9th. I think it was first and second, right? And nobody out, and Garrett Mitchell struck out. But in the 10th, he comes right back and gets the opposite field hit, just a beauty of a base hit through the left side. And we talked to him about just how he's feeling at the plate in general. And he told us like he feels better when he's at the plate with runners on base. He just feels like it's kind of almost less pressure. Just he wants to keep the line moving. And that's exactly what he did in the 10th inning. Unfortunately, he struck out in the 9th. Jeremy says, what a great last 2 innings offensively. Yeah, well said. I mean, it was just get done what you need to get done and give it to the next guy. And just guy after guy. And of course, Andrew Vaughn comes off the bench and comes in and gets another hit. The guy is just on fire to start his 2026 season. And I hope he's in that lineup tomorrow. Righty, lefty, we can get into that too. But boy, that guy is just whenever he's at the plate, you feel good. And that something good is going to happen. How about Sal Frelick too? What a moment for Sal, getting the game tying double, ties the game. Brewers ended up scoring then the leading 2 runs to take a 5-3 lead. But how about Sal Frelick, a guy who has struggled offensively? Obviously, he's not had the year so far offensively that he's wanted to, but he's, Pat Murphy has kept him in there, kept fighting, and now he's starting to get a little hot. Don't let Sal get hot. And then he had another great hit, RBI in the 10th inning as well. So good to see Sal starting to turn things on offensively as well. That batting average going up to climbing and climbing. Let's see what that's at now. Frelick, who tonight was 2 for 3 with a double, 2 walks, 2 runs batted in. He was on base 4 times, and that just like that batting average is up to 230. And I'm not saying that 230 is exactly where you want to be at, but obviously it's better than what he was at and creeping towards that, average career regular season of 264. In his last 7 games, Sal Frelick is batting 320. And so it is starting to come around for Sal Frelick. You knew it would. That's the thing. Like, you don't want to give up on a guy like that because you knew it was going to come around at some point, and it's definitely starting to. As nervous as I was with, this is Roger, as nervous as I was with Sanchez up, that was an incredible at-bat to get Bowers up. Yes, just keep the line moving, right? Sanchez gets the walk to load the bases. All of a sudden, you have to pitch strikes to Bowers because you can't put anybody anywhere. Like you said, a great at-bat. It didn't have to be a home run. You would have loved a home run, but you didn't have to be. And so what he does is he comes up there. It's a very veteran at bat, gets the walk, knows his role, and then boom, Jake Bauers comes through yet again. I mean, Jake Bauers is unbelievable, guys. I mean, I like every situation that guy is in, he comes through. 3 for 5 tonight, 3 runs driven in. He scored 3 times. Batting average sitting at 277 on the season. He's now got 39 driven in. Got those 10 homers as well. Just incredible. Hitting in his last 30 games, the guy's hitting 300. His season average sitting at 277. Want to hear from you if you're just joining. Thanks so much. A little late night Brewers talk here. Haven't fired up the YouTube in a bit and figured, hey, it was a wild game, so why not talk about it? Let's see. Darren says, always expect craziness at Coors. Absolutely insane game. Well said. That's why through the first 8 innings, it was like, why isn't this crazier? Like, this should be a lot crazier, it feels like. Like, this should be a situation where this should be a 5-5 game or even a 7-5. Okay, if the Brewers had to be down 2, maybe it was 7-5 or 9-7, right? Heading into that. No, it was 3-1 heading into the 9th. The final score of this game was 9-7. If someone went to bed, which I'm sure people did because it was a later game and maybe you want to get rest, got a big weekend coming up, whatever it happens to be, maybe people went to bed when it was 3-1 and they're going to wake up and they're going to go, I don't believe what I just saw. Like, wait, they're going to be wiping the sleep out of their eyes in the morning. Like, wait, does that say 9? Wait, can you read that? Does that say 9? It says 9. And the Rockies have 7. The Brewers won after they had 1 hit. Also, how about this stat that Brewers TV showed? First time the Brewers had 1 hit through the first 8 innings and then scored 9 in a game since 1980. It's been a while. So want to hear from you. Roger said, very impressed with Yoho, much needed. Totally. And look, it's I said it on the pregame show on Fox Sports 920 tonight before the game. The Craig Yoho has stuff, has the goods, so to speak. He just has to do it at the major league level consistently. And unfortunately, it just has not happened for him consistently at the major league level or really at all. I mean, tonight's the first time he's went multiple innings, and he went 2 innings, didn't allow a run. The only blemishes were the 2 walks. Otherwise, he had 3 strikeouts, including that big strikeout to end that 8th inning. How big is that now, right? The bottom of the 8th inning, the Rockies have 2 runners on, and instead of the runs scoring, and all of a sudden that's a 5-1 game, it's all of a sudden a 3-1 game. It stays a 3-1 game, I should say. And then boom, it's 5-3 Brewers. Then of course it's 5-5. And unfortunately, that was the first blown save for McGill since that Toronto series. So it's been a while for him. And look, he was probably going to have one of those at some point. Pitching at Coors Field's just different. You saw the other thing is Aaron Ashby in that 10th inning couldn't find it. 9 out of his first 11 pitches were balls. And I was thinking to myself, he just can't find it. And Coors Field, it takes a while to get the field. Tim Dillard was doing a great job talking about it all night of what it's like to pitch. Of course, he spent a lot of time in Colorado Springs when the Brewers had their AAA team in Colorado Springs, and he was talking about his experience at where he was. And I tell you, at altitude, things are different. Things move different. The feel is different. Obviously, you're probably a little more fatigued. Your body doesn't bounce back as well. All those things are different, and it's their first 24 hours in the altitude. And I got to think that played a role in Ashby trying to find it. But then he did, and that ground ball was huge. I mean, it was just like, whew. I was like, boy, does he need a ground ball here? He had first and second, and then the ground ball, double play, boom. And then that really turned the tide because then, okay, you still have the tying run at the plate, but you don't have the winning run at the plate like it was. The winning run for the Rockies in the 10th inning was at the plate with nobody out. And they were able to get the double play, and that was huge. So want to hear from you, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching. Appreciate you doing so. Late night, Friday night Brewers talk. Brewers get the 9-7 win in 10 innings tonight. And just they score 4 in the 9th and 4 in the 10th. How about this? The Brewers have scored 8 runs in 5 of their last 6 games now. Of course, the other one was a shutout. Let me see here. Billy says, need a dedicated clause. I'm guessing you mean closer. Need a dedicated closer. I mean, Trevor McGill has earned that spot back ever since Abner Uribe was facing the suspension, and we still haven't heard the final decision on that suspension. He is appealing, so he's been able to pitch, but ever since that happened, McGill's kind of been the guy, and it was creeping towards that a little bit. Abner was the guy for a while McGill found it, and now McGill's back in that role. It's not been as locked down as years past. We're used to Devin Williams. We're used to Josh Hader. We're used to, heck, even Trevor McGill last year. It's not been as locked down this year. However, Trevor McGill heading into tonight's game was on a really good roll of his ERA was like below 2 in his last 15 appearances or so. Those are ballpark numbers, but right around there. So he had been doing really well, and he's the guy, and I trust him in that role. Unfortunately, it just didn't go his way tonight, and it kind of, again, Coors Field, it's hard to totally judge off of that, but I would still put him back in the next save situation. Although, since Abner didn't pitch tonight, I would think Abner might get the call for a save situation tomorrow, if indeed he's able to pitch. The thing about Abner, and I say he's able to pitch, if whenever this suspension comes down, they're going to have to. It's going to be a 1-game suspension, and that's going to be another guy down in the bullpen, and it's just like, this bullpen keeps getting depleted, and that leads me to Mark's comment here on Facebook. Too bad about Fitzpatrick. No more injuries. Who else can we bring up? I mean, well said, Mark. The Brian Fitzpatrick injury just was gut-wrenching. He's warming up for his second inning of work, and you could just see it on the replay they showed on Brewers TV. Like, it just, all of a sudden, he felt it in the elbow, it looked like, and those injuries you just don't like to see. Like, you just know what that can be. And he was showing a ton of promise. 5 outings, ERA about less than 1.5 through 5 outings at the major league level, had just gotten called up today. I just really liked what I was seeing from Brian Fitzpatrick, and honestly, I thought he could be probably a significant part of this bullpen for a while, and that just did not look good. We'll see what Pat Murphy says after the game, but and we'll see obviously in the coming days, but I can't imagine that's going to be good news for him. And it's like, okay, who are you going to bring up? Jared Koenig continues to be in Nashville, and he's doing his rehab assignment. And I early to mid-June was the projection for him to come back and pitch. But otherwise, your other left-handed pitchers that you even have at AAA are, who you could call up, maybe a Tate Keener or a Drew Rom. But I mean, you're really depleted in the left-handed department right now. When you've got Rob Z and Jared Koenig and DL Hall, and it's just unbelievable, the left-handed pitchers that the Brewers have on the shelf right now. Where do you almost try to go outside the organization just by necessity? We'll see. Let's see here. Roger says Murphy will still be unhappy about most of this game, especially the play at first base. McGill might have had a better outcome if they make that play. That's a great point. And it comes back to that misplay at first base, which allowed the first base runner of the 9th inning. I totally agree. I think McGill gets out of that if there's not the misplay at first, but he was part to blame on that. They got to communicate. Bowers and McGill got to communicate who's going to cover first base. It seemed that Bowers thought he was going to, and then at the last second saw McGill coming and thought McGill was going to. And then all of a sudden you're in a situation where nobody's covering and you got a runner on, and that just adds to the stress that McGill has and the stress to the inning, and that leads to a 5-5 ball game. Tony says, good to hear from you, Tony. Hope all is well. Tony says, hard to pitch up in that air, 100%. And again, that's what was like wild, that Feltner, and obviously the Rockies are more used to it, right? The Rockies are more used to pitching in that, and they know how their stuff plays at altitude more than the Brewers do, just by experience. And Ryan Feltner was a good example of that throughout his work tonight. Just really good. Had that one long inning of 30-plus pitches, but then settled down. It was making quick work, a 9-pitch, a 6-pitch, like just making quick work of the Brewers, and just didn't seem like the Brewers' night, and which is wild because offensively it seemed like they should have been a lot better because they're playing at Coors Field. But then it all just came through against Sensatella in the 9th and then the 10th innings. against Mejia as well. Rockies, some of their relievers there, 3 runs charged to Sensatella and 3 runs charged to Mejia. As far as the earned runs, 4 runs, both of them as well. So 4 runs, 3 of them earned for both Sensatella and Mejia. Mejia officially took the loss. For the Brewers, it was McGill actually getting the win. So that's the wild part about that is you can blow a save and then get a win. So yeah, Brian Fitzpatrick, just in, Pat Murphy says Brian Fitzpatrick felt a pop in his elbow and he's going to have an MRI tomorrow. Man, that's rough. That's rough. And you knew it. I mean, you saw it, right? That's what just really good guy to talk to in the clubhouse too. Really was excited to see what he could do back at the major league level. So that's just, oof. As Pat Murphy says, he said it yesterday to us after the game. He's like, the major league season will give you the full catastrophe. Well, we're in full catastrophe mode with how many pitching injuries this team has had. It's unbelievable. I mean, when you look at that IL, and not just in the bullpen, Woodruff, Priester, Henderson, right? You're going with a 6-man rotation right now, and that means you have one less guy in the bullpen. Plus, Anderson wasn't available tonight, and who knows if he's going to be available this weekend. Taking that comebacker yesterday off the forearm, his throwing arm, and so he was playing catch today. They're hopeful it's not an IL stint, but if he can't go this weekend, you're another arm down. You're obviously going to get someone in for Fitzpatrick tomorrow, but I don't even know who. I mean, it's probably Easton McGee. It's probably not a lefty. It's probably a righty, maybe Easton McGee. So, wow. Let's see. Andy says, wonder how long Miz goes in that Colorado air tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow Miz goes. I'm interested to see how his stuff plays at altitude as well. It's kind of like, and the thing about it is, like, these guys have to find their kind of find it early. And you kind of, obviously Sproat gave up a run early and he wasn't great tonight, but he was solid. I think this was a little bit of a step in the right direction, especially maybe the last couple innings. Early on, it looked like, oh no, this might be another one of what he does is just a lot of traffic, some walks, things like that. But he ended up with 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to go there, but a little promise there. The fact that he could kind of buckle down and get through 5 innings, something that was kind of a goal. I mean, he said it to reporters after the last game that he pitched last Saturday against Houston. Like, I need to focus on getting through 5 innings first. And that's what he did tonight. And he gave the Brewers 5 innings. Then you have Fitzpatrick go for 1. And then the Yoho 2 innings and keeping the Rockies off the board was very, very big. Tom says ugly wins are still wins, and boy, this one was ugly. It was. Hey, and that's the great part about this game, right? The Brewers were down 3-1 heading into the 9th inning. They had 1 hit. Did they really have business winning this game? I'm not so sure. But remember when the Padres, down to their last out, got a 3-run home run and won the game? Like, these things these two things seem to even out over 162. But this is a big win. And I know it's the Rockies and it's June 5th, but that would have been a 3-game losing streak. And you never really want to get yourself into a losing streak. And so after the last 2 days, yesterday you come up just short. Especially tonight, if you would have come back, taken a 5-3 lead and then lost, that would have been even worse than I think than going kind of quietly into the night at 3-1. So I think this was a significant win for the team. You look at the NL Central as it sits. The Pirates ended up losing tonight, so the Brewers are back to a 5-game lead over the Cardinals, a 5.5-game lead over the Pirates, 6.5 over the Cubs, and then 7.5 over the Reds. The Pirates, Cubs, and Reds all lost. The Cardinals are playing the Reds, so they beat the Reds tonight. But that is how it shapes up. The NL Central 5-game lead over the Cardinals right now, who, of course, the Brewers swept last week. Appreciate it, Michael. Appreciate your kind words there. Let me see here. Doreen says, great comeback. It was. I mean, that was from Sal Frelick to Jake Bowers to, Terang getting on to start the 9th. I mean, we can go back to this 9th inning and just it all kind of happened so fast. But just to kind of remind you of all the guys that were in on this. I mean, basically the whole order had a significant part of this. The problem was Jackson Churio was 0 for 5 tonight. So that just kind of other than him, really, you had production up and down the lineup, and unfortunately, he just was not able to get it going. But Terang singles to start the ninth, and then so Terang singles to start the ninth, and then you've got Contreras reaches on that fielder's choice, and you give once again, you give the Brewers an inch, and they're going to take a mile. Like you gave them that air, right? Sensatella throws to second, it skips off the dirt and goes into center field, and all of a sudden you got runners in the corners with nobody out, and the Brewers are so good at forcing the issue and taking advantage of mistakes. So all of a sudden you got runners at the corners. Wise decision. As much as you would have wanted William Contreras up in the ninth inning, you pinch run Blake Perkins because you got the speed there. So it's runners at the corners. Jake Bauers comes up, gets a single. It's 3-2. Then Mitchell strikes out, so now you're down to one out, or well, you have one out in the inning. And then the Sal Frelick double is what I'll point to. I know there were other clutch, Jake Bauers is clutch and Garrett Mitchell, the 10th and whatnot. That Sal Frelick double was so incredibly big. And to see his reaction, you just love to see it for Sal. The summer of Sal is back on. He drives in Perkins. Bauers goes to third. Frelick hustles, gets into the double. And then Andrew Vaughn comes off the bench, brings his 350 average to the plate, and boom, single to center field. Bauers scores, Frelick scores. It's 5-3. Hamilton and Yelich are out. And then, of course, it's tied heading into the 10th. And then here are the guys that contributed in the 10th. Churio strikes out, unfortunately, but then Terang with a walk. And like we had it pointed out earlier, I think it was Roger who said Gary Sanchez's at-bat was so big, getting the walk, getting the bases loaded. So then Mejia had to throw strikes then to Bauers because you can't put him on base, because if you walk him, Brewers are going to take the lead 6-5. Bauers with the double brings in 2 runs, 7-5. And then Garrett Mitchell goes opposite field with a beautiful piece of hitting to make it 8-5. And then Sal Frelick again comes up big with a single to right field. Bauers scores, makes it 9-5. Ortiz with a walk as well, but then Hamilton and Yelich with the outs. So it's interesting. You look at the ninth inning and the 10th inning. Hamilton and Yelich made 4 of the 6 outs in those innings. Churio made another, and then who made the other one? Garrett Mitchell in the 9th. But so that Hamilton made 2 outs, Yelich made 2 outs, and Mitchell and Churio both made 1 out in the 9th and 10th innings. So for some reason, Hamilton and Yelich just were, but Yelich has been really clutch this year. Hamilton had a nice, has been playing better over the last week or so. By the way, Hamilton has started 8 of the last 10 games at shortstop. That's a trend. So you're starting to see Ortiz come in late in the ball game for a defensive replacement. You're starting to see kind of a shift change there at shortstop. So we'll see. Dan says, win was big. Ends a losing streak, albeit only at 2 games. Yeah, exactly, Dan. That's the thing. Like, you don't want to, and that's the sign of a good team. They're finding a way to win even when they don't play their best. And that was not their best baseball game tonight. I think anybody up and down will tell you that. But they were able to find a way to win, and good teams don't, go on prolonged losing streaks. So that was a key win tonight. Plus, then it sets you up. You can win the series tomorrow, or you can win the series on Sunday. And tomorrow you have one of the best pitchers in baseball on the mound, Jacob Mizorowski. And then you got Shane Drowan, who's been pitching well on Sunday as well. So that's the good news. Want to hear from you, YouTube and Facebook. Appreciate you joining here. We'll wrap it up here soon-ish. Let you get to bed on a Friday night, but appreciate all the comments here, and was like, you know what? It's late night Brewers. Nothing like, one of my favorite things is late night radio. I just think it's just kind of its own beast, and it's kind of hilarious. So these West Coast games can be fun because it just is kind of a free for all. So I was like, you know what? Let's get a little taste of that and do a little of that on YouTube and Facebook. Tim says, what's the injury to Fitzpatrick? We're not sure yet, but unfortunately, Pat Murphy said to reporters just moments ago that he felt a pop in his elbow and he's going to have an MRI. That just can't be good. You saw the look on his face. If you saw him be taken out, it looked like he was almost in tears. Just awful. So I would think it is not short term. Unfortunately, I would think it's not short term for Brian Fitzpatrick, but we'll see. I guess crazier things have happened, but just by his demeanor, and honestly by DL Hall's demeanor yesterday when we talked to him after the game, that also was, I was like, oh boy, this could be long for him. It's going to be 4 to 6 weeks with that left pectoral strain that they put him on the IL for today. So DL Hall's 4 to 6 weeks out. I mean, man, oh man. Tony says, guessing Tommy John. I mean, yeah, that's kind of the worst worst case scenario there, and you could be looking at that depending on what the MRI reveals. And you feel for the guy. So any final comments here on YouTube and Facebook? Appreciate you watching. The Brewers get a 9-7 win in 10 innings, and they are now back to 15 games over 500 at 38-23 on the season. They are now just one game behind the Dodgers for the second best record in baseball, as they have the third best record right now in baseball. The Braves are first at 43 wins, the Dodgers second at 40 wins, and then the Brewers with 38. Brewers would have the most wins in the AL if they were in the AL. NL is just much better than the AL this year. Let's see. Roger says, where is Lockridge in his rehab, and will that end the Perkins days with the team? Yeah, good question. So Perkins, in fact, I just talked to him yesterday. He is in Arizona. What's interesting, the Brewers sent a contingent of players, pitchers who were not going to pitch in the series, like starters like Kyle Harrison and others who are not going to pitch in the series, along with some rehabbing guys to Arizona instead of Colorado. So they didn't even have to mess with the altitude and can continue to work either on their rehab or get ready for their next start. So, Woodruff is one of those guys. Harrison's one of those guys. Lockridge, one of those guys. Lockridge told me and told us, a couple of reporters there yesterday, that he is going to plan to go to the plan, if all goes well, is him to go on a rehab assignment to Nashville starting on Wednesday. And then hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later after that. Pat Murphy said it could be longer. He's a younger player and might take a little longer to get his feel back and everything. He said he still feels a little tight and doesn't know if he'll really feel 100% again this season, but he said, I'd much rather play and, not be just under 100% than not play. So I will see how that all goes, but it sounds like he's progressing well and he was in good spirits. He was running around pregame on Thursday, so that's good. And we'll see. But I do think the roster move would be Blake Perkins. I would be surprised if it'd be anybody else. I think Blake Perkins would be sent down when Lockridge is ready. So, yeah, definitely. I would think that would be the move. Kevin says, Sal is picking it up at the plate in a Gold Glove catch tonight. Man's batting .320 in his last 7 games. Summer of Sal is on. I think he just waited till the summer months because he wanted to make sure that Summer of Sal mantra was on point. And he really wanted to make sure that, it is the Summer of Sal. And I'm going to wait till summer to have it be the Summer of Sal. So he's doing well. Again, last 7 games, .320 average. He's driven in 4, 3 walks, just 2 strikeouts, 8 for 25. So he's scored 3 runs. So last 7 games, he's starting to get hot. And like you said, that diving catch was huge, kept a run off the board too earlier in the game. So yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Scott says, I agree. Big win in a place where they have struggled. Yeah, that place has kind of been not a great place for the Crew at times. No doubt about that. But tonight it turned into kind of a magic place. It was kind of a little magical seeing what the Brewers did tonight at Coors Field. A 9-7 win in 10 innings. Thanks so much to everybody for joining. Appreciate it. We'll try to do this again soon. Maybe even a late night one. Boy, they're going to be really late if we do one after the A's series coming up early next week. They're in Vegas for 3 games. The first 2 games are at 9 Central, and then the third game's at 8 Central in Vegas against the A's. But we'll see what the Brewers do tomorrow. It's weird. Tomorrow's game is actually later than tonight's game. So it's rare that you have a Saturday first pitch that's later than a Friday first pitch. But tomorrow it's an 8:10 first pitch with Jacob Mizorowski on the mound for the Crew. See if the Brewers can get another victory. Thanks so much for joining tonight. Really appreciate it. Fun to talk Brewers. Yeah, as Andy said, good Brewers talk, people. Absolutely. Appreciate all the interaction in the comments. You guys know a ton about this team, and it's just a blast to talk about, especially when the team's 38-23, right? They're playing good again, and it's just a blast to talk about. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for following along as well. One last question here. Any concern over Churio's chase rate still looking rough? I know the results are still good, but figured year 3 would look cleaner. Yeah, it kind of seemed like over the last week or so, he was getting a little better at that, and then tonight just did not seem right. So I think it's still just young player. We forget how young Jackson Chourio is, but I think we kind of have to remember that he's 22 still, and he came up to the majors as a 20-year-old. So or 19 or 20, whatever it was. So, I mean, the batting average is at 295. And like you said, the numbers still look okay. 840 OPS right now. But yeah, I think Churio still, we talked about it with Pat Murphy, in fact, earlier this week in one of his pregame press conferences. And he was talking about how it's just, yeah, it's like you do have to kind of go through it and learn it and kind of totally get that ball strike reined in. And hopefully he will. Not articulating that well. He went into more detail about that, but it is a topic of conversation and something they're definitely working on. And so it's not about being, it's Pat Murphy kind of put it more of you don't want to be overzealous in the box. And, if you misjudge a pitch and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, now it's 0-2. Now I got to swing and protect. And it's a mental thing a lot of the time. And it's obviously a reaction thing. So we'll see. But I think it is. Yeah. I don't know if I'm concerned, but I think it's something to watch for sure. And a good point, Tom. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone for watching tonight. We'll be back soon again. Make sure if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel at Hunter B on Air, the Hunter Baumgardt Show, feel free to do so. Like the Facebook page. Appreciate you all, and we'll talk again soon.